And Max Olson, ESPN, joins us normally Thursdays, but today Max had the story about Skyler Gill-Howard out, at least for the rest of the regular season. Texas Tech defensive lineman, one of their deepest parts of the team. And Max, your thoughts, is not all year because we don't know how many games Tech's going to play, but they have been rolling, steamrolling, and you just never know when all of a sudden you start to get a little attrition in a game like football. But how much of a miss is this?
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, this Texas Tech D-line is really exceptional. Oh, we got some breaking news, boys.
Up.
Pete Thamel reporting Will Hammond starting against Arizona State tomorrow.
Whoa. There we go. Thank you, man. All right.
Okay. There we go. So we can talk about that as well. Yes. That's a little attrition for, and I got to go spend a few days at Texas Tech this week and spend some time with Joey McGuire and his staff and his players. And, it's a tough loss for that D-line, that exceptional D-line, what Skyler Gill-Howard brought in coming in from Northern Illinois and really being a great fit. He's undersized, but he plays so hard and, had that pick six against Kent State and a great player. I think they plug in A.J. Holmes, the Houston transfer, in his starting spot there. And I think they feel pretty good about what he's going to be able to do in filling in there. But, this is going to be the challenge for Texas Tech. You've got all this really great frontline talent. But certainly if this team's going to make a playoff run, then you're talking about, you still got 9 more games, 10 more. I mean, it's a long way to go here if you want to, hoist some trophies. So I think that's part of the fact that I think that's a factor on the QB situation too. I think you got this game, Oklahoma State next. If they can give Baron Morton a little bit of time off to just try to get closer to 100%, I think they still feel like the offense can certainly can run through Will Hammond. But it does put them at a disadvantage tomorrow night in a bit of a, it's a tough game on the road at Arizona State, the defending Big 12 champ.
So Sam Levitt's playing and now Baron Morton is not. What do you think is going to be? Do you think they let Will Hammond have the whole playbook? I mean, he's played enough this year, or do you think they might be a little more limited over there?
Yeah, I think I think for Baron Morton, the situation is he injured his leg against Arkansas Pine Bluff early in the season, and he's been trying to work back from that for 5-6 weeks. He's been playing, but I think that was a little bit of a step back against Kansas. Really kind of aggravating that same injury, and so I know he was limited in practice this week. And they're just trying to get him 100% because he's the leader of this team. I think for Will Hammond, they don't really limit the playbook. If anything, they just add the QB run game element to it. Yeah. And, I think that's something that Mac Leftwich had at Texas State and last year from the Cloud and in places he's been. And so I think that helps. You saw against Kansas when Will Hammond wasn't super accurate. I think that extra element to the offense really helped. And so, this is going to be a really big test for a redshirt freshman. He played really well against Utah when he got thrown in there. He didn't play he played fine against Kansas. Obviously, they were able to run all over KU with Cam Dickey. So this is going to be a really interesting test just to kind of see where is Will Hammond and his ability to, be consistent in how he leads this offense.
Yeah, there were a lot of people, I'm sure you saw him after the Utah or during the Utah game when he came in and were like, he should be the starter. So those folks are going to get their wish, I guess, for at least tomorrow. So you said you were hanging around a bit this week, and I know you can't tell us like everything, but I know you've also seen all of the tortilla talk that's been going on this week. Your thoughts on kind of the back and forth with the Big 12, like just the whole Leipold thing's like a totally kind of a separate conversation, I feel like. But in general, is Tech just kind of fed up with the tortilla talk? Like where do you think they kind of are at this point?
Yeah, me personally, like I did not get my hands on the pocket knife while I was in Lubbock. Okay. But I'm not trying to tamper with evidence here, right? I mean, it's an investigation of it. I think it's frustrating for Joey McGuire and for that administration of, and you can walk around the stadium, there's signage, there's all sorts of stuff saying, hey, if you do this, we're going to eject you from the game. And you can do this, one time pregame, but that's it. It's certainly frustrating for the coaching staff when you get in these situations where like, wow, this could like legitimately cost us a 15-yard penalty at a really bad time if somebody messes this up. And so, I know Joey McGuire has like appealed to the fan base, and they are trying to take all these steps to try to get their fans to buy into this. And now, every game going forward is really going to matter for this Texas Tech team, especially at home. And so, they got to get this under control. But I think that, tacking on the $100,000 penalty to this, it's going to be interesting to see how this gets enforced. Obviously, Kansas was on the lookout for this stuff. And, I think you're right on the light bulb part. I think the bottom line was just he shouldn't have mentioned the pocket knife, and he shouldn't have mentioned Scott Draper in his postgame comments. And I think that obviously brought on, 4 days of trouble behind the scenes between these two schools and trying to deal with this stuff. And I think all that probably just should have been handled privately. But he's right to be frustrated about, all the stuff being thrown at the sideline. And I think the Big 12 is trying to do more about that. But, certainly this thing escalated in his post-game press conference in a way that I'm sure KU did not really want to deal with.
Well, if you just joined Max and he's got a few minutes with us, again, Will Hammond will start at quarterback for Tech against Arizona State. And then also we had the Skyler Gill-Howard news from earlier in the day. He's out for at least what appears to be the rest of the regular season. Max, your thoughts with James Franklin out at Penn State? You're right there on ground zero in Lincoln or in that area. Your thoughts about what you think knowing rules passed?
Yeah, I mean, shocked by the move at Penn State. You guys know I was at that Penn State Oregon game 3 weeks ago, and I walked away from that game feeling like, man, Penn State's probably still a top 5 team. I really felt like they did go toe to toe with Oregon, and they play one play away from being probably number 1 or number 2 in the country. So, pretty stunning how it all fell apart there. Like, I think if Pat Kraft, the Penn State AD, is making that hire tomorrow, I'm sure he'd probably love to hire Matt Rhule. And I think it's the fact is that we got another 6 weeks here before we get the end of the regular season, 6-7 weeks. Interested to see kind of where that journey goes for Penn State. And I think that the Curt Cignetti move yesterday, I think is pretty meaningful in all of this. I think that the fact that Scott Dolson in Indiana was able to lock up his coach, keep him out of this stuff. Obviously, they paid him a boatload of money to keep him out of this silly season. But, I think that does put a little bit more pressure on guys like Matt Rhule and Lane Kiffin, whose names are out there for these jobs. Of like, all right, if you say you're staying, that's great if you say that. In the press conference, you said there's nothing to worry about. Why don't we put pen to paper here, and we're going to give you everything you want. So are you willing to take that, or are you going to kind of keep using the leverage here? I'm interested to see kind of how these things play over the next few weeks and whether these coaches can be locked down. Because, as many people have said, guys, I think this is going to be just a completely ridiculous coaching carousel cycle. And, if you've got a coach who's in demand, I would think that you're meeting with him and his agent right now and trying to get them locked down.
Ole Miss's AD said as much in his last media availability I think today about Curt Cignetti and how he'd like to get that done with Lane Kiffin, especially considering there's an SEC job that's probably going to be open the next couple of weeks that will at least reach out to him.
Well, didn't you love the way that Cignetti addressed this? He just said, like, I'm on camera, I'm signing the contract, like I'm
retiring here, period. Like I love how he handled it. I really do. And I think I think for guys like Matt Rhule and Lane Kiffin too, who have made moves in the past, some that have worked out, some that haven't. Like, I'm just very interested to see how those guys approach these opportunities. This is like maybe kind of that once in a lifetime of like, I might be staying here for a really long time or making this move. So we'll see. But I know this from talking to sources at Nebraska. Like, none of this stuff surprises Troy Danity in Nebraska. Like, they've been talking with Matt Rhule's agent since before the season about his deal, because they anticipated they were going to have a really good year, and that these, if you go win 8, 9, 10 games at Nebraska, then Matt Rhule's going to be up for all these jobs, just like he was in the past. And so, it does remind me, though, guys, of when we were together in New Orleans chasing this stuff down on Black Monday in the NFL. Remember that whole ordeal? How about we stretch that out for 6 weeks instead of just a couple days? What do you think?
I don't want that. Max, I don't want that for anyone at all. So let's just say Matt Rhule does stay at Nebraska and doesn't leave. Who do you think is the best fit for them?
Well, I think that's the going to be the challenge, is just the timing piece of all of this. I'm sure I wouldn't be surprised if like Penn State would want to talk to Mike Elko, but will Texas A&M be in the college football playoff? Right? Will they be getting ready to playing a game in December that really matters, and have you just won too much at a place like A&M that, there's no way you're moving? I think that's going to be, I have no doubt that Penn State will be big game hunting when it comes to this hire, but there's going to be some of these guys that are in the playoff and not willing to make moves. There are going to be some guys that want the job probably, and just the timing just isn't right, stuff like that. So, if Rhule stays and if Cignetti's off the board, there's going to be a lot of great options for Penn State, but you just don't really know as we get to the end of November. Are you looking at maybe now you're looking like a Manny Diaz, because there's just some folks out here that maybe you'd love to talk to, but it just doesn't line up right.
Hey, man, enjoy the weekend. I'm about to send you a picture of something I have on the set today. I thought you'd get a kick out of it. Thank you, Max, for joining us, and have a great weekend, buddy.